Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and I have a really nice machine to share with you today. This is the Brother 3050, and it is a quilt club series, which means it has lots of features if you quilt, but if you don't quilt, it has tons of stuff for you anyway. Look at how wide this is. We have 11 inches from the needle to the inside of the arm, and we have tons of lighting and extra space around the needle, so you can get in there and change the needle. You have great visibility while you're sewing. It's just a dream. It has lots of creature comforts that are going to make your sewing extremely easy. Has a needle threader, has variable speed, and it also has a thread cutter. It can pivot and tie on and tie off, all that fun stuff. Why don't I show you how easy it is to thread the needle? The threading on this machine is actually really easy because you'll notice that there are actually pathing numbers. So you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and our 7 is right here, and there's a thread cutter right back there. And then this little button right over here, all I have to do is push that button and it threads the needle, and we're ready to sew. So this machine has a beautiful touch screen, very large color touch screen. It has lots of different stitches. Also, you can just navigate it with touching the screen, which is really cool. So you can pick whichever stitch you want to sew with. And I'm going to go ahead and just stitch my straight stitch. It's perfect for quilting, for home deck. Look at the space in here if you're working with a home deck item. Just lots of fun. Now it can sew very quick. I have it slowed down because, you know, I tend to let things get away from me. So there is our seam, but it also has what is called a pivot function. Now this, I'm going to turn myself up a smidge. This is really cool because when we sew, and let's put the needle down when it stops, and then it will raise that presser foot so we can simply pivot, which is so convenient. And I love sewing with my needle down, so that way while I'm sewing a big seam, if I stop, I'm not gonna make a jig or a jag in my seam. So that's really pretty cool. And of course the thread cutter, yeah, love that. Has a drop-in bobbin so you can see how much thread is left while you're working with it, but it does have a bobbin minder on it as well that will tell you. Other things that are pretty fabulous is the strength of the machine. And this machine can sew through heavy fabrics. So we can sew our seam, and then when we get done with our seam, we can actually come in and choose one of the overcasting stitches. Like maybe I just want to do this one right here, and I can come back and stitch that, and then that will help control the edges from fraying when it's laundered, so you can have that done as well. Then if you are working with denim or something like that and you want to have a nice top stitch, you know how in your jeans you have that really nice thick thread? That's really hard to find. So in here we can just come in and choose our triple straight stitch, and I like to make that a little bit longer so that way it's more visible. And just put this down and sew away, and we'll just do a little bit so you can see how beautiful that is. So let's cut that thread. And look at that beautiful top stitch. Now this would be perfect for working with garments, but think how nice that would be on a tote bag or something, or home deck. Beautiful stitch, and you have all sorts of fun threads that you can work with there. So now if you are a normal person, which I think we all are, well, some of us are not as normal as others, but if you're a normal person, you probably have to mend. So if you have your wonderful denim pair of pants that you need to hem, you have your 3 layers of fabric for the seam, then it needs to be folded up once and then again so the raw edge is not showing, and then we are able to sew. Now usually what happens when you're sewing along with denim is that you get bogged down. You have to use a hump jumper or things like that to be able to have it go over that thickness. But look at how beautiful it went over all that thickness, and it did such a beautiful job on that. Wow. You know, that's just stuff that we need every day. So if you're making a tote bag and you have the bulk of the handles, or home deck with that heavier fabric, you can do so much with this machine. Now, other fabrics that it does beautifully on is knits. Now, knits are quite stretchy and they can be problematic, right? If you learn to sew on your mom's old machine or grandma's machine or something like that, those machines weren't set up for today's fabric. And so they did not behave properly on, and they don't even have the stitches. So there's stitches on this machine that are good for knits. They're good for just sewing knits, but also there's some that mimic the stitches of a serger, so they have a lot of stretch there. But you can see that this has a nice amount of stretch. You don't hear any popping of the stitches. So this machine has capability for all that. Plus, it has decorative stitches in here and just lots of beautiful, beautiful other stitches here. You can even make your own stitch. It has alphabet, so you can put labels and things. You can also make a quilt label. So lots of fun there. It does come with this wonderful extension table, which gives you a nice surface to do your quilting and support heavy fabrics. Now, this has something that is really pretty amazing, and I want to show you it, but before I do, I'm going to go back to regular stitches and I'm going to do just a regular seam on this fabric. Now this is cuddle or minky or whatever that wonderful fluffy stuff is. It's so yummy to snuggle, but it's really a pain to sew because they're so slippery, they just don't stay together. But if you've ever worked with this type of fabric, I know a lot of people say they'll never do it again, but let's take a look at what it does. It's gonna ripple, it's going to slip, it's gonna slide. They were the same size when it started, but look at all that on the back. That's a mess. So now let me show you something really cool. This is called the Move It Foot. It's actually a belt-driven feeding system for the top layers of the fabric. Your feed dogs will take care of what's underneath, and this will take care of on top. And it actually plugs into the back of the machine, and it's going to let us get beautiful results on persnickety fabric. This is the digital dual feed foot, or the Move It foot. Really easy to put on. You just simply put it on like you would any other foot when you change the ankle. And now when I sew, this belt is actually driving that top layer of fabric along with the bottom layer of fabric. So take a look at the difference. This is with our Move It foot and this is without the Move It foot. What a difference. You're gonna love this. It's almost like driving with four-wheel drive in the snow. So this machine has tons of options. Like I said, decorative stitches. It has the ability for you to make your own stitch. It comes with the digital dual feed or the Move It foot, and it has all this space to sew with. So come in and visit us and come take a look at the Brother 3050.